Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name's Steve. I'm co-founder of Company of Makers, and I will be hosting up to 20 chats with the boys, or should I say boy, from Stars and Spokes, who are raising funds for the RNRMC by cycling from Land's End to John O'Groats. Good afternoon, Pascal. How are you?
Good afternoon, Steve. Hello from a particularly warm and sunny Cornwall. All is well. All is well on the cycle so far.
So, just for our viewers' benefit, that's not really how the conversation went before we went live, was it? To be honest.
No.
So we drove in this morning to the studio, and it's absolutely baking this morning. I think it's like 28 degrees, and that's obviously in the shade. How's it for you on a bike?
So yeah, no, thanks, Steve. I wouldn't describe these as ideal conditions for bike riding. I checked on the BBC weather app at 10:30 this morning, and the temperature came up as 26 degrees, and I thought, oh dear. I mean, that's only 10:30 in the morning. It's only going to get warmer. So yeah, it's been hard work today, actually. And if you combine that with the fact that Cornwall, in terms of up and down hills, is pretty much the most difficult leg of the whole thing. So not only are there plenty of hills, there's now plenty of heat as well. So it's been a real battle just to get enough fluids on board. So every time I'm cycling along and I see like a gas station by the side of the road, I jump straight in there. I grab a couple of bottles of water, a Lucozade, and I just stand there in the forecourt, like just downing liquids, and all these motorists filling up their cars look at me a little bit strangely, but it's got to be done when it's this warm. You just got to keep hydrated, absolutely key. So yeah, it's been a tough old start, actually.
A tough old start. And also, obvious to everybody, you're on your own. I guess kind of doing this sort of thing on your own. You sort of had your oppo, Dan, who's obviously not with you at the moment. What impacts that had on you already? You know, is that a good thing, bit of peace and quiet, or a bad thing?
Yeah, so I suppose there's two elements. In a way, it's good, in a way, it's bad. But I'd say overwhelmingly, probably a negative. So just to rewind really quickly for people, both Dan and I are full-time serving members, officers within the Royal Navy, and we've both got operational jobs which are fully deployable. And Dan in particular is held at high readiness in his job, and therefore is reactive in terms of where he goes around the world, often at quite short notice. And so last week, off he went to somewhere on the other side of the world. So he's not taking part in this challenge at all now, which he's obviously gutted about. But yeah, so it's just me. Yeah, over the past year or so, Dan and I have obviously been following the same training program. We've been discussing stuff on an almost day-by-day basis in terms of how it's going, like our mental highs, our mental lows. And what I've noticed on this ride, I thought it wouldn't be a huge impact, but already when things aren't going particularly well, it's nice to almost turn to Dan and say, right, this is a bit hard, or this is a bit rubbish, isn't it? And he's like, yeah, it is, mate. But, you know, the top of the hill is just up there. We'll be there in 30 seconds a minute, and then it's all downhill. Great. Whereas I'm having to internalize quite a lot of that, you know, like just put it through my own head. So yeah, missing Dan. And, you know, Dan's one of my best mates. I've known the lad for best part of 20 years. So I am overwhelmingly missing him, but don't tell him. So
no, obviously, well, he won't be able to see this. It's only on the internet. So the other thing is you're obviously raising funds for the Royal Navy Royal Marines charity, but your passion and interest is around mental health, which I guess you just alluded to in your chat there. How are you coping with this? What are the mental strategies, and why is mental health so important to you?
Yeah, so mental health is massively important. And for Dan and I, you know, we've been doing frontline ops for the Navy for the past 15, 16 years now. And we've seen firsthand the mental health impact that those kind of ops can have on individuals in terms of the time away, or if you've got a partner that comes back maybe with life-changing injuries, or potentially even have a partner that doesn't come back at all. You know, the mental health side is absolutely huge in terms of what we do within the service, and rightly so, but you need to have supporting mechanisms in there. And for me, a big one is being able to chat away to people. And thankfully, because of connectivity with things like WhatsApp these days, even though Dan's not here, I've got a bunch of mates, you know, civvy mates, military mates, firing me messages through all the time. So for me, that's a really big thing. Every couple of hours, I'll stop, check in and say, right, here I am. They're like, you're doing an amazing job, all that kind of stuff. It's just massively important. And that's why we wanted to try and raise funds for the RNRMC in support of a number of their mental health projects that they run, because it's such important work, in our opinion.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm sure many of our viewers would agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. You've hit the nail on the head. It very often is about having someone to chat to, isn't it? Whether it's your mate, someone at work, your doctor, a friend, whoever it is. Just if you are facing a few challenges, and we all realize what kind of 18 months we've all been through. So everyone's mental health is probably taken a bit of a battering, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and I think too often when someone says to you, you know, how are you getting on, the standard response, particularly for us in the military, is, yeah, I'm fine. You know, in reality, sometimes you're not fine. And Dan and I have this little system whereby we number stuff from 1 to 10, and we say to each other, look, how are you, mate? And rather than just it being a fine, we articulate what number we're at. So if we're at a 2, then we're obviously not doing that great. If we're at an 8, then great. And that's a really good way to just really quickly check in with a friend to see, right, what number are you on the mental health scale? And if they're below a 5, then frankly, you need to have a bit of a chat with them, I suspect. And so that's how we do it as a pair, and it works really well for us.
That's a really good idea. Top tip. Didn't expect to be giving top tips, but that's a good one. Brilliant. So
could be the first and last top tip.
I'm sure that won't be the case. So as if the Harry Redders, as you guys in the Navy say, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, would say, if that's not enough, you also had a bit of an issue with trains this morning, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I came down yesterday and then positioned myself at Land's End overnight last night, ready to start nice and early this morning. And yesterday I caught the 3 o'clock train from Paddington down to Penzance. I was going to get there about 8 o'clock in the evening. I thought, great, no problems, plenty of time, we'll be absolutely fine. And as we pulled out of London, every now and then the train just kept on coming to a grinding halt and then stopping on the line for a couple of minutes and then restarting and then going again. And I thought, this isn't, I mean, I've been on lots of trains and most of them don't run like this. And then after a couple of hours, the train driver came onto the comms and said, look, this train can't go beyond Exeter. So there's no service onto Penzance after Exeter. So they're stopping here and you're gonna have to find your own way to Penzance. And that was the last train of the day to Penzance. So we got into Exeter and there's a lot of questions flying around. And then by chance, by coincidence, there was another train which was running an hour and a half late, a previous service, which was just pulling in. And at that point, everybody was just piling off the train, trying to get onto the other train, because that was literally the last train of the day going to Penzance. So it was a bit of a mad scramble, but made it with about 30 seconds to spare. And thankfully arrived in Penzance at around about 9 o'clock last night, ready to cycle over to Land's End and get going first thing this morning. So yeah, a fairly stressful 24 hours, but here we are. So all's well that ends well.
So that's absolutely so in terms of more top tips, how to prepare for a sporting challenge, make sure it's absolutely bako boiling and you're relying on public transport.
Yeah, or maybe aim for an earlier train would be my second top tip. but here now, and that's the important thing.
Cool. So you're going to be posting updates, aren't you, on Instagram? Because you have sent me a few photos this morning, which looked amazing in Cornwall. I think that looks like, I mean, obviously tell me about that, but I think that probably set you up for a better mood than perhaps your arrival.
Yeah.
So you're going to be sharing stuff on Instagram, aren't you? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that's the plan, to summarize every day around about maybe 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening on the Instagram account, which is @Stars and Spokes. I'm going to put together a few paragraphs just summarizing what we've done over the course of the day, how it's been, any of the highs, any of the lows, give a bit of information about the route, and then look out to what we're doing for the next day, just try and take people along on the journey with us. So yeah, plenty to put in from today already, loads of Cornish hills. It's about 1 billion degrees. So all of that kind of stuff we'll be pushing out in daily updates every evening. Look out for them about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, once I've had a chance to arrive somewhere, maybe have a quick shower and then get a few notes out on the Instagram.
Brilliant. So of course, the purpose of all of this, apart from, you know, cycling across the UK, is to try and raise some funds. We've got the description down below in the comments below the video on Facebook. It's also on your Instagram page, is it? And it's your Just Giving page. Have I got that right?
It is, yeah. So the link's on our Instagram. It's justgiving.com/stars and spokes if you want to go there directly. And literally any donation, no matter how big, how small, the minute you make a donation, you turn into an on-the-spot legend. So thank you very much for your support. It's all going to an incredible cause. And trust me, it's quite hard work, this. So if you can show any support, it would be hugely appreciated by myself and the wider community of the Royal Navy Royal Marines. So thank you very much.
I think I concur with that completely. So if you've enjoyed this or want to see some more, some money would be great to justify the pain, just to make Pascal feel a bit better. We don't know when Dan's coming back, do we? Because we're obviously planning a podcast episode towards the end of your cycle ride. Hopefully we can get him on that, but obviously we just don't know when he's coming back. So and also you're planning to do this across the United States, aren't you, as well? That was the original plan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so originally that was a plan for this summer, but COVID put an end to that. But next year, we'll be doing a 5,000-kilometer ride together from California across to Florida over the course of 35 days. Again, raising awareness and raising money for the RNRMC and the mental health stuff. So yeah, plenty of cycling going into this.
And what we're hoping to do, I mean, what we've done about the technology in the US, is do something very similar to this, but it might not be every day because the coverage is very different in the US as I understand it. But we will do something similar, won't we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really keen for that. Yeah, it may well end up being every other day just because we're going to be in some fairly remote spots at times. But yeah, absolutely keen to share our journey as we're over in the States next July. Definitely.
Brilliant. So we'll be speaking to you tomorrow. Same time, Facebook, sorry, 12:30, same place, Facebook. Where will you be?
Okay, so the plan for the rest of today is to get across to Dartmouth, the Royal Navy College there. And then the day after, I'm going from Dartmouth across to the air station at Yeovilton in Somerset. So last bit of Devon and Cornwall Hills tomorrow morning, and then on to the Somerset Flats. And I can't wait. So I'll be somewhere on the edge of Somerset, hopefully, come lunchtime tomorrow.
Brilliant. Somewhere flat.
Yeah, here's hoping, and maybe a little bit cooler.
A little bit cool. I can't promise that. The weather forecast is not saying that. But, you know, 1 out of 2 is not bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Pascal, thank you very much. Keep up the good work, and I will see and speak to you tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate. Thanks all.